Episode 108 of the Joomla Beat podcast, and this week we're looking at a top 8 new extensions for Joomla.
Latest Joomla news, design tips, marketing ideas, and interviews with experts in the industry.
Beginner or professional, this podcast is for Joomla enthusiasts.
Welcome to the Joomla Beat podcast with your host, Peter Buey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Joomla Beat podcast, the podcast all about designing, developing, managing, and marketing your Joomla website. And this week I'm doing a extension review. These have always been really popular in the past. I know it takes so much time to crawl through the Joomla Extension Directory and find out what's good, what's new, and add them to your new website that you might be building, or to existing old ones even, if it needs a little bit of facelift or a couple of new features. But, you know, I find myself spending a day, 2 days maybe, crawling through the extension directory, trying to find out all these really cool things and find out what developers are doing, and then ripping them apart. So I guess when someone else does it for you and gives you a quick overview and review of some of these extensions, it's quite useful. So I'm doing another one of those today, and that's coming up right after a little quick news update.
Joomla Beat.
Okay, so Joomla news this week. There isn't too much to report on, but the big Joomla World Conference event is coming up this weekend, and we should start seeing more and more social media tweets and Facebook posts come out. So please make sure you keep an eye on all those. It's probably your first source of news and updates of anything that comes out of there. I really hope the videos come up online of all the sessions as soon as possible after the event, so that all the people that couldn't attend or couldn't afford to attend or are on the other side of the planet can actually see all the content that has been produced, and all the talks, presentations, and everything else that has happened at the Joomla World Conference. So looking forward to seeing all of that come out very, very soon. Secondly, on October the 30th, so a couple of weeks ago, I missed this, but I think I saw it briefly pop up on my news feeds, and then I didn't get a chance to look into it. But a guy by the name of Sheik Ekenling, I know I've absolutely butchered that name, Ekeling. He's put in a new concept for the Joomla Extension Directory. So a visual redesign of the Joomla Extension Directory. Now, he mentions in his blog post about this that the Extension Directory is so important to the Joomla community, and it can make and break the project. In a way, yes, it definitely can. The extensions are what site builders and Joomla site owners rely on to actually find something to extend and make Joomla just a little bit more than a content management system to do all those cool and fancy things. So without the extension directory, a lot of people that can't develop code from scratch will be a little bit lost in how they can make their website stand out just that little bit more, add in that extra bit of functionality. So if the extension directory isn't working well, or the search isn't working well, or it isn't giving exposure to some certain plugins, the site builders and developers are a little bit behind, I guess, in regards to being able to build a really good site. On the other hand, the extension developers that actually build all of these extensions, components, modules, and plugins for Joomla, if their extension can't be found, they aren't going to get much exposure other than through Google searches. So they would have to rely heavily on search engine optimization for anything to be found that they build. So the extension directory really helps promote anything that the community builds and anything that the community wants exposed for other site builders. So it's really important that it works, and it works really well. Now, when I was in the Joomla leadership team, there was a project going on to rebuild all this. It finally launched, and it was all really, really exciting. And I can see it's been optimized. It's faster, little tweaks and improvements here. The homepage is a little bit different. And I think that's probably what prompted Sher to actually jump on and do a redesign of the homepage. When you look at the homepage of the current Joomla Extension Directory, it's essentially just a bigger list of categories and subcategories at the moment, with a couple of ads here and there, which is a little different to how I remember. I remember it had a lot of images, a lot of promoted, or not promoted, but more so exposed extensions, so you could see visually what it would be doing, rather than just a list of categories or subcategories. So maybe it is a good move. I'm not sure. I also heard that Sher has joined the Joomla Extension Directory team now, so there may be some movements, redesigns, and things happening there. So really exciting. Hopefully it does all go ahead and we can see more and more continuous improvements for the Joomla Extension Directory. All right, my last little bit of news for this week, and when crawling through the Joomla Extension Directory, right at the bottom of the site, I've never seen this before, so I think Open Source Matters may have added it in more recently, but you can sponsor Joomla. You can click on a little link in the footer of any of the Joomla websites, and it says sponsor Joomla with $5. Now, if you click on that, it will take you off to PayPal, a PayPal Me page, and there you can donate $5, or you can change the amount actually that you might want to donate, and then that will go through the checkout process and send money directly to OSM. So I just gave that a try. I gave the project $5 US. And hey presto, it works straight away. It's all done through PayPal. So if you're feeling inclined to donate to the project, you can go directly through that link in the footer of any of the Joomla.org websites and donate to the project itself. So what Open Source Matters, the organization that looks after a lot of those aspects for the Joomla project, they use the money for hosting costs, if they're not already donated, to pay for various trips where teams would get together and collaborate about different ideas for the project, and so many more things. I've been out of the project for a little while now, but that's what the money was used for back then, and hopefully it's used for very similar things right now, so it can help promote Joomla, help promote collaboration within the community, etc., etc. I probably should catch up with someone from OSM at the moment, or someone from the leadership team at least, to find out what the money is used for at the moment. If you are listening to the podcast and you know how the finances are going for the Joomla project at the moment, and you'd like to chime in, please leave a comment in the show notes. Or if you have anything else to say in regards to the Joomla news, go to the Joomla Beat website, which is now moved over to pbwebdevelopment.com. You can go there via pbwebdev.com/ep107 and you'll get to this week's show notes. Okay, let's get into our feature for this week, the top 8 new extensions for Joomla.
Looking for more Joomla tips and industry news? JoomlaB.at. Web hosting by SiteGround.
All right, so this week I have crawled through the extension directory, the new category of the extension directory, and picked out 8 pretty nice extensions, which I've gone through. I've looked at the developer, I've looked at the demo, worked out how it works, and some of these are free, some of them are paid, but these are my top picks for this week, and I think, I probably only will do one a month. So top picks so far for November 2017. All right, so my first one is Article Fields by Regular Labs. So Peter Van Westen does a lot of Joomla work. I've interviewed him on the podcast way back in the day, I think in maybe 2013. You might have to check the show archives, but he goes through all of his extensions and, his most popular ones back then. But he's made so many more. He has currently 27 extensions, and this new one that he's put out, article fields in Joomla custom fields plugin. So recently, the Joomla project has launched custom fields within its core, which is fantastic. So it makes it more of a content construction kit, and it can do a lot of really cool custom field work now. So you don't just have the title and the body copy. You can add in extra fields, so you can do a shopping cart, for example. You have the title of the product, description of the product, price, which can be a new field, and the SKU, or the product ID, which is a new field. Or you can have a new field that links to other articles within your website. And that's what Peter has done here. He's created a field that would link dynamically to other fields within the Joomla website that you're building. Now, this is important because Joomla uses those long-winded URLs, which a lot of people don't understand. But if you just copy a URL from the browser that has been search engine optimized, such as blog/article, that's a hard-coded link. So if you change those titles or the URL on the article itself, it will break if you're using it within a custom field. But Joomla has a unique way of doing it so it doesn't break. So anytime you update those pages, it will always remain linked. So it's really important to do it the Joomla way. And Peter has done that through his extra fields plugin to link to different articles, link between articles within Joomla. So that's absolutely fantastic. And that's my first pick. It's also free, which is a really good added bonus. So I always try and get free extensions if possible, but if there's some paid ones that really shine, I include them in the list as well. Now, my next one here is Easy Facebook Save button. Right, so Facebook has a huge amount of users globally. I have no idea what number they're up to, but from last count, I've heard they've had numbers on their network higher than populations of many countries of the world. So that's a lot of people using the platform. And this extension here, it's called, it's quite a long name, Display Facebook Save button in your Joomla website. So actually, it's called Easy Facebook Save button. There we go. It's still a bit long, but anyway, it describes exactly what it does. So Facebook has the ability to save pages when you're using the network, the platform itself. So if you're reading an article and you don't have time to read it all, you can click the save button, and then you can go back to it and read it later under your saved links on the left-hand side of Facebook. In the sidebar. But what this does, it puts that save button on your website itself. So now when a user is looking at your website, they're reading a couple of articles, and they are a bit too busy at that point in time to actually read the article itself, they can click on that save button and it will save it to Facebook. So later on during the day when they're procrastinating, wasting a little bit of time, like I do a lot, maybe too much, and they're on Facebook, they can see that they've saved this article, get back to it and actually read it. Users, the general behavior these days is a lot of time on Facebook. So if you can capture your website and push them back to it from a platform such as Facebook, where they are all the time, it's really helpful to get users back to it. So this is my second pick for this podcast episode, and I think it's really cool, really quick and easy, and you can see the demo on how it all works. There's a couple of options in regards to changing its look and feel, and it's supported by the Joomla update system too, which is fantastic. So if there's any updates, you can just click the update button and hey presto, it will update for you. Okay, so check that one out. It's pretty cool. Now this one, I absolutely love this one. This is number 3 on my list, and it's called Have I Been Pawned? Password Checker. Now, not pawn as in like adult material pawned, but pwned. So that's like a hacker phrase for have I been hacked, and has my passwords or whatever been compromised. So this is a really cool plugin which when added to your Joomla website, it will let that user know that that password has been added, or not added, but has been breached in some sort of way. So if you go to the haveibeenpawned.com website, it will tell you a lot of big data breaches that has happened in the past. So I added in my email address into the website to see what type of search results will come back. And it will give you a whole list of websites of where that email address or that password has been used, and where it has been compromised in a big data breach. And lo and behold, my email has been is in that list, and I do recognize those big hacks that has happened in the past. So one of them was Adobe. Adobe is the software that we use to design websites. That was breached back in, I think, 2012, and our username and passwords were a part of that, and we had to go back and change all of the username and passwords that we used on those websites. But if you put in your own email address, it may come up with 10 different websites that your username, email address, or password combination has been used. So if you're using a fairly common password across many of your websites, use this service, see if it has been compromised, and make sure you update all of your passwords everywhere it has been used, and so forth, because hackers are using these lists to try and get into your website, your services, your bank accounts, whatever it is. So make sure they're all different. Make sure you use this service to see if it has been hacked in the past on a different website, and update all your passwords regularly. That's all I can say. But this little plugin, let's get back to the plugin. It adds in the ability to check as a user is adding in a new password on the Joomla website, your Joomla website, so that it will see if that password has been used, or the email address has been used before it has been compromised and needs to be updated and changed. So this is absolutely fantastic. So a new user's coming to your website, they're registering an account, they're typing in a password, and then it comes up with an alert saying, actually, this has been used somewhere else before. It has been hacked in a previous website. We suggest that you don't use it. How cool is that? That's absolutely fantastic. So check this one out. Again, this one is actually a paid download. Just give me 1 second. I'll check how much it is. And I can see that it is €10 for a lifetime. Lifetime? It must mean a lifetime subscription, one-time fee of €10. So it's not too bad for the type of awesome service that you get. Now, it does rely on that Have I Been Pawned website, so that has an API that allows this plugin to talk to. So if the Have I Been Pawned.com website ever goes down or is no longer in service, that would mean that this plugin won't work. But at this point in time, it's a really cool service. And I highly recommend this plugin for all of your Joomla websites, especially if you're capturing membership details or anything else like that. Okay. All right. To my next one, number 4 on my list. Now, this is fairly interesting, and this is another login registration style plugin to help protect your user's authentication process. Now, this is login with TREZOR. I think I pronounced that right. But TREZOR is it's a Bitcoin hardware wallet, or a crypto hardware wallet. And these things are a hardware device that you have to have, and you authenticate using that device as a two-factor authentication device to send cryptocurrencies between one wallet or one address to another address. So it's a very secure way of storing your encrypted keys or passphrases within the device itself so that you can commit those particular transactions. Now, that device is also open source, which is fantastic. So developers can build things on top of it, such as a login application for Joomla itself. So now what users can do, they can log in with their username and password on a Joomla site, or they can use the TREZOR device to log into their Joomla site as well. So this adds in that hardware, that physical piece of technology that is needed to log into your website. So that stores the encrypted passwords that will allow the authentication onto your Joomla site. So without it, you can't get in. So don't lose your device. Now, if you're into the crypto investing space and you're buying Bitcoin or whatever it is, you wouldn't want to lose that device either, because those Bitcoins are worth quite a lot these days. And if you manage to get in the early days playing around with it, it's worth quite a lot more now. So it's vital you don't lose those devices. So this is very similar to one of those little USB thumb keys that authenticates with a two-factor authentication. It's very similar to that. So it's important that you don't lose it, or else you'll be locking yourself out of the website. There's always ways to recover to get in and around it, so you don't have to worry too much about losing it to get into your Joomla website. But it's a very cool device. I think it ranges between 50 euros and 100 euros, depending on which version you get. But it is a very cool way of securing and locking down your website so that only you and physically you can get in. Okay, my next extension. Okay, so number 5. Going along with the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency theme, this one also caught my attention, and it is Bitcoin payments for Virtuemart. So if you've ever wanted to collect Bitcoin as a payment on your website, you can now. So this plugin connects in with Coinbase, which is a third-party exchange that allows you to buy cryptocurrencies, mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. But this plugin here lets anyone that has an account on Coinbase, similar to if they had an account on PayPal, for example, but if they had an account on Coinbase, they can use their account, which would have a store of cryptocurrencies, and use it to pay for whatever you're selling on your website. So this is a really cool and easy way to start accepting cryptocurrencies for your Joomla website, especially if you're having Virtuemart. So I don't know if I specified that specifically, but this will only work on Virtuemart-based e-commerce websites at the moment. So you would have within your Joomla site, somewhere in the back end under Virtuemart, the ability to add more payment plugins, and getting this one will allow you to configure that, set that all up, and do it securely via your Coinbase account. Now, this is also a paid extension, so make sure you check that one out, read all the documentation, give it a little bit of a play. There is a demo on the developer's website as well, so you should be able to have a look at and see how that all works, and get an idea of if it will be suitable for you. Number 6 on my list. Now, this is something that I've always wanted in Joomla. Sometimes we build very long pages. The long page will have a lot of content, a lot of headings, and at the top of that list of content, that page of content, would be an index. And that index would have shortcut jump links back down to the content itself. Now, for the podcast episodes, I do this quite often. At the top, I'll have like a bunch of shortcut links that will drop down into the content. So it makes it easier for users that are scrolling through long pages of content and images to find what they need. So this is another one from Regular Labs, Peter Van Westen, and it allows you to put a table of contents at the top simply by adding in a little bit of short code. So curly brackets, word index, curly brackets, end curly brackets, and that will get the plugin crawling through your content and building that table content at the very top of your site so that it will jump down to the rest of the page. I was having a look at the demo before, and but lo and behold, it does exactly what it says. It does nesting. So if you have subheadings within your content, it will index and indent them slightly within your list as well. So it's pretty cool. It's all controlled by CSS. So if you don't like the look and feel of the index, you can change it. But it is by far one of the quickest and easiest ways to get that index up and running, especially if you have a huge list of content there. So check that one out as well. It's pretty cool. And that was number 6 on our list. All right, number 7, testimonials. Now, testimonials are really important on websites. They allow you to build trust with the user, the customer that is viewing the website. So in regards to building trust, it helps build the authenticity on the page so that users will know that other people have purchased these products, these services, and will feel a little bit better in engaging with the product or the service provider. Of course, they need to be real, and this testimonial showcase module lets you add in any of the testimonials that you have collected from your customers. So it allows you to do the different little styles. It has 5 different styles that you can use, different effects. It collects the title of the the title of the testimonial, so I guess the name of the person, the text that they've done, and add in an image of them as well if they're inclined to do an image. Now, it's all done with a carousel called Our Carousel. We've used that type of carousel in the past. It's good code, it's fast, quick, light, easy to use, and this is our 7th pick for this episode. Testimonial Showcase, that's what it's called. I'll post links to that in the podcast show notes, so please check that one out as well. Oh, and it's also a paid extension. All right, last but not least, number 8 on my list. Now, this is one of those little performance and optimization plugins that I absolutely love. If it makes your Joomla website fly, if it makes it faster, if it performs better, fantastic. Great, let's go for it. Now, this one here is called Disabled jQuery, or Disable jQuery. This is a free plugin, and this one allows you to disable all of those jQuery JavaScript files from your website if you don't use them. So I know on a lot of our projects we're not doing any excess jQuery stuff, or we're trying to load it from a CDN instead, a content delivery network. So in regards to doing that, we don't want it loading locally on the Joomla website as well. So this plugin, when enabled, would not delete, but disable the main jQuery libraries, the minified one, the conflicts one, the migrate, and the migrate minimized one as well. So that's a lot of excess jQuery libraries that could be loading in your website, and this will just disable them all so that you don't have to worry about loading them up, especially if you're not using them because you're using other different systems or whatever it is, jQuery JavaScript libraries, using something else. So you can disable them from Joomla altogether so that you don't have to have any sort of conflicts with them or load them up in the first place, and you can load them from a CDN instead. You can hard code that into your code, load them in the footer, and hey presto, you have a slightly faster website. So it's an optimization process that you can go through to make your site faster. So this is my 8th pick for this podcast episode. Disable jQuery, check that one out as well. And that brings me to the end of this podcast episode's extensions review. Now, like always, I'll be putting these podcast show notes up on the website. Like I mentioned, it's moved over now to our main website, pbwebdev.com/ep107, and you can get all of the show notes, all the links I've mentioned right there on the website. And now, if you enjoyed the podcast episode, please jump onto the iTunes store or onto the Spreaker website where this podcast is hosted. Leave a big thumbs up, thank you, a 5-star rating and review, I hope, so that other people can discover the content and consume it as well. Share on all your social networks. It really helps with the discovery promotion of the podcast as well. Now, as always, signing off. Please keep your websites safe and secure, and make sure you keep them backed up. All right, bye now.
You've been listening to the Joomla Beat podcast, bringing together the community of designers, developers, fans, and users from around the globe. Joomla Beat. Joomla Beat.at